Welcome to NEQ, where we speak to the doers and thinkers shaping a world drowning in static. Because when everyone's talking, NEQ listens to the people who matter. People with no equal. On today's episode, we have businessman, thought leader, entrepreneur, mentor, some of the many hats he wears with no equal. Ramesh Schaffter, Managing Director and Group CEO of the Janashakti Group, or JXG as it's now known. Welcome to NEQ, Ramesh.
Thank you, Imran.
Ramesh, just to begin, Colonel Sanders began KFC at the age of 62. Ray Kroc for McDonald's, 52. John Pemberton, Coca-Cola, 55 years when he began Coca-Cola. And then Chandra Shafter began at 65 years of age with Kotmale as a homegrown dairy business, and from there to insurance. So I'm just quickly going through who Ramesh Schaffter actually is, because a lot of people look at Ramesh Schaffter as Janashakti, as the CEO of Janashakti, a successful businessman, entrepreneur, etc. For those who don't know the background, so your youth years, you had a short stint at St. Thomas's, and then you did most of your studies in India.
So I'm a Thomian.
All
I'm a
right.
member of the OBA in England, etc., but I have never studied at the school.
Really?
I left the country when I was 3.
Okay.
Had I been in this country, I would have been a Thomian student. My 2 sons, one has finished and the other is still in college. My father, my brother's son, etc., all Thomians. Our history with St. Thomas's goes back to my grandfather, who actually journeyed from Muttuwal. He started as a teacher in Muttuwal and journeyed with the school when they moved to Mount Lavinia in 1918. So it's a long relationship with the school. But we were displaced citizens, kind of, and so I ended up growing up and doing all of my schooling in India. It wasn't a full-length schooling, it was a disrupted schooling, so I left school at the age of 14. Tried to convince my father, because I finished my A-level at 16, I tried to convince him to send me into St. Thomas's again for A-levels. And I convinced him that I would do English literature, which is in English. I'll do French, which is another language. And I will do logic, because logic was considered the easy subject. But the real agenda was to go and play cricket. But sadly, he didn't fall for that.
You're like me. I chose arts because it was an easy subject, and I ended up in events. So not bad. A little more serious question now. How did moving across functional areas like finance and marketing prepare you for leading a complex, diversified group like Janashakti?
So I'm essentially professionally an accountant. I went to England, studied accountancy, worked as an accountant in a chartered accountancy firm for 3.5 years, seeped in accountancy, but parallelly loved the field of finance.
Right.
And that gave me a great platform when I came back to Sri Lanka. Joining the family business allows you to sort of put your fingers wherever you want. And because in CIMA, Chartered Institute of Management Accounting, in their exams you study marketing as well, I sort of ended up leaning towards marketing. Involved with Janashakti Insurance from its pre-launch days. The very first vacancy advertisement I was a part of. Got involved with every discussion with ad agencies, from selection of agencies to campaigns, and so have been seeped in marketing for 25, 30 years. And being in a family business, it also gave you exposure to other areas. So while I was an accountant, I also worked in so many other areas, and I was on every interview panel other than the CEO of Janashakti when we started. We had an external CEO at the launch. And that gave me a huge insight into business in general and the Janashakti group in particular.
Brilliant, because I remember I used to, in my professional capacity, I used to walk into your offices next to the Nippon Hotel outside there. And in recent times, I walked into your office at the Mireka building. I was actually stunned. I hadn't seen something like that in ages. So you were there up in the sky. You had branded chocolates in your boardroom, which I still have to taste. You had a golf putting corner. You had open plan offices. And it looked like something out of the movies to me. Uh, and then it was also branded as JXG, correct?
Correct.
So I'm trying to figure out what the X stands for and how did JXG suddenly, it seems to have burst into this marketplace. But I know that it was a long time coming. It was quietly growing, but no one really realized the extent to which it grew till you launched recently. But I think this all began in 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
If you actually go back, the child was more famous than the parent. Janashakti Insurance, and
That's right.
if you talk about Janashakti today, everyone connects it with insurance. We were very successful in both life and non-life, but the group is bigger than that. And so we had a finance company, we had an investment banking company, which was not identified directly with Janashakti. And we began this journey. The journey began really in about 2018, where we started tagging them a Janashakti group company. That
Right.
was the first step. And then still Janashakti was the known brand, very high brand equity. And we wanted to have something similar, but we didn't want to have the same name. So we looked at various combinations. And JG already existed because when we were in general insurance, it was JG.
Janashakti
So
Group.
we went through a brainstorming process and inserted the X. Some people will tell you because the X is sexy, but really it's exciting. It lends itself to an extraordinary company. We do things exceptionally. You see in our office.
Yes.
And all of those are embedded in that office, in that workplace. And so we tell staff, we don't want this to be just another office. We don't want it to be a dull, boring place. We want it to be exciting every day. And there's a lot of things we've done which really make it a fun place.
And it's quite amazing because when you walk in there, it's a different atmosphere altogether. You're not sure whether you've just come to a business or whether you come to have a bit of fun. But
So I think business
it's a
has to be
combination.
fun.
Yes, exactly.
It has to be fun, and that's what we're trying to build there.
I totally agree with you on that point. You wear many hats, CEO, life coach, social entrepreneur. But if he gave you a brand new business card with just one word on it, what would it say?
So professionally, I'm an accountant. I worked functionally as a marketer. For many years, I was director marketing of Janashakti, and a lot of what Janashakti did in the marketplace was driven by me. I've also been, and I'm not sure if you know that part, I've been a cricket commentator. I was TNL Radio's man at the match for 2 World Cups.
No, I
And
didn't.
unfortunately, now my work doesn't allow it. But if I had to put one thing on the card, I would like to say leader. Because you can study accountancy, you can go and study marketing, I'm a Toastmaster as well, you can be a commentator, whatever. But I think that leadership is one thing that is not really taught, it's caught.
Correct.
And it's what you catch from people you associate yourself with, whom you draw from. And it's something that you can potentially pass on to others. And that is what I would like to see myself as. And that's what I see myself as today.
I have watched you public speaking. I have been there at many things that you have spoken at. I know that you prefer to have your hands free when you're speaking, and you are very expressive in that sense of the word. So yes, you're also a Toastmaster, a public speaker. So ideal things to have that there. But leader on the card says it all. One shot. I think you should add the word leader with no equal. Then you're NEQ then. Into your personal life, there is you have your strength of faith. Your spiritual path has led you to becoming a pastor. Were you always deeply religious, or did this come about later on in life?
I was a prodigal son. So believe it or not, since you asked the question, for 20 years I went nowhere near church.
Right.
I lived by a simple rule which looked after me, myself, and I. And that was for a long while. And then at the age of around 37, I encountered God and everything changed. So my life can be divided into BC and AD. And the Ramesh in AD is transformed, different, priorities are different, mannerisms are different. So from being a sort of mercenary leader, I'm a slightly more compassionate leader. From being very autocratic, I'm a little more consultative. I won't say democratic, but consultative. From not caring two hoots about anyone else, I am a little more caring. In fact, one of my assistants in office, the rascal, he told me one day, if you were like before, they won't escape so easily. And I think that says it all. Because the Ramesh before was a very aggressive,
Right.
mercenary kind of Ramesh, and today I'm not that kind of leader, and I hope that that's for the better.
I know I can quite empathize with what you're saying because in my personal life as well, went through the fire and then came to, then found peace in spirituality or tranquility in spirituality. So yes, uh, that is a defining moment. But was there a defining moment in your journey, personal or professional, that reshaped how you view leadership or success?
So the transformational experience, and I'm actually also, my part-time gig is as a priest, and I make jokes that I wear a dress on a Sunday. But that has led me to be focused on a different style of leadership. And that style of leadership is the kind of leadership that Jesus Christ emulated and discipled others. And that is a sort of thing, thing where you care about the person's situation and circumstance rather than only about getting your job done. And therefore, a little more tolerant, and therefore, not just leading from the front, but taking everyone along with you on the journey. And I think that has helped. Because it's not about marching up front and keeping on marching, it's to make sure that all of your troops are with you on this journey and all of them are making it on this journey.
And marching with you. But what is that one bold decision you made that significantly influenced the direction of growth?
So I've been involved since the pre-inception, and I was involved in the background. People who were internal saw me, but people externally did not see me until very recently. The one bold decision is the one that transformed Janashakti into what it was or what it established itself as. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but the statutory requirement for capital was 25 million rupees. And my father was targeting to raise 25 million. And he had a piece of paper which said 20 million from a anchor investor, 15 million from an anchor investor, 5 million from family and friends, and 5 million public issue, 25 million capital. We, or rather I should say I, pushed for 200 million capital. We closed it at 175. That put it at the largest capital base of any of the private insurers. That gave us a strength which even the other established private insurers did not have, and that gave us the firepower to really establish Janashakti as what it was and what it is. We had a private placement which I handled entirely by myself. We went to 3 major investors, the Bank of Ceylon who came in, NDB who came in, Bank of Ceylon dragged in Merchant Bank of Sri Lanka, and they had CIC, all big companies, big organizations at that time. CIC, my father initiated. The others, I was very much a part of the conversation. I was 24 at the time, too foolish to know where to stop. And that's what happened.
24 years old, and you look for 175 million investment.
Yes.
Not bad at
But
all.
my father is one who empowered us from a very young age. And because we were displaced citizens, Imran, I mentioned earlier, I did my A-level at 16. I qualified as a SEMA past finalist at 19 and a half. Apparently third youngest in the world at the time. The reason we know that is because my late brother Dinesh at 18 was the youngest in the world. We did the exam together.
Oh, really?
So I started working at 19 plus. I worked in England. I worked in an audit firm, as I mentioned, in central London, and interacted with clients and customers who are way beyond my age. And therefore, you grow in maturity, I guess. So when we came back, and I came back just short of 23, I was already someone who had worked for several years in UK, somewhat independently, and so came in with a lot more confidence than the average 23-year-old. And perhaps a little more arrogance and a little more drive and all of those. So 24, just a number.
No, but I can imagine 24, to look for that kind of investment to go and convince people out there who will be obviously much older than you were. They might take a look at you and say, "Who's this guy? And where the heck is he coming from? And the kind of money he's asking." So that takes a lot. It takes a lot of boldness. It takes a lot. So yeah, you can.
Certainly, the boldness was there, the confidence was there, and I think that's essential for anyone trying
That
to do
is.
anything.
That is why we say no equal. That's where you are. So you've been a coach to many, but if you could go back and coach your 25-year-old self, I should say 24-year-old self, for 60 seconds, what would you say?
I would say be a little more focused. I'm not saying focus on milestones for every 6 months, every 1 year. I was having fun, and I certainly enjoyed the whole process of building Janashakti. We worked very long hours, and I'm not saying that's bad. But perhaps the areas I neglected was what one would call continuing professional development. I took the application forms to do an MBA soon after I passed my CMA exams. I still got the application forms. But perhaps if I had been a little more focused, I could have done things like that and didn't worry too much about career path. It was a family business. We just kept growing with the family business. It might have helped if I had worked outside. Now we're saying to the next gen, spend a couple of years outside, see what others are doing, learn from that, and bring something to the table.
If I can presume to say so, we have certain similarities because I did my bachelor's in economics and I was going in for my MBA, got into events. I was having too much fun and I never bothered to go into my MBA.
This is what happens. When you enjoy it too much, you don't pull yourself off what you're doing. And now I'm trying to do it.
Are you?
I am. I'm actually looking at courses to do because I think it is essential. And I think just because things are going fine, it's not an excuse not to try to get to the next level.
As a life coach and mentor, what recurring mindset challenge do you see holding young leaders back? And you have many of them which you're nurturing in your company at the moment.
Not just in the company, even outside of the company, in my vocation as well. So it's multiple strata. The biggest thing I think is mindset. People's mindset holds them back. I think about someone like Steve Jobs who used to walk several kilometers to get a free meal at Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Center, and what he went on to achieve. And there are many like that. My own father's journey is not easy. He was orphaned by the age of 10 and lived on charity for much of his early life. But the only thing that would have stopped him is his own mindset. The confidence that he had that he could continue to achieve things is what drives him even today. And I think the whole system is weighted against people in this country. From school, they tell you don't think too much, do as I say, don't ask questions, don't be curious, don't be creative. And I think that just kills people's enthusiasm. By the time they come out of school, they are dulled.
Correct.
And therefore, they are risk averse. And nothing ventured, nothing gained. I believe Edison tried 1,000 times before he succeeded in making the light bulb. And I think every young person I come in contact with is scared because they're penalized for failure. You should never penalize failure. I tell people in the workplace, you make a mistake, don't worry about it. You do shoddy work, you'll have to answer to it. Give it your best effort. But I think the thing that stifles Sri Lanka in general is the fact that we are from a young age told don't think too much, don't think out of the box, do as I say, follow the rules, and don't be creative, don't exercise your mind, don't take risks, be cautious. And where's the entrepreneurship? We killed it.
Exactly. I think a lot of people who don't know you or don't know your background would look up at you sitting up there in your Miraca Tower and thinking, look at him, he's born with a golden spoon or a silver spoon in his mouth. But they would rarely recognize the fact that it was focus, determination, drive that brought you to where you. I don't think it was an easy journey.
The journey was anything but easy.
I can imagine.
If you know India today is not great. Financially, they're doing well. 40 years, 50 years ago, India today was like a place with a famine. You couldn't get anything. It was a closed economy. It was a struggle. And believe me, life was a struggle. We used to have to go downstairs and pump water off a hand pump and carry it upstairs because there's no running water. All of those things. India was a completely different India in the 1970s. And we struggled with that. And I think that makes us appreciate some of the things in life. We struggled with every aspect of life. It's very hard. Even at school, it's very hard. It's very competitive. Less than a percentage point will divide the top five. And they're all study, study, study. And we were not with that mentality. You know, my father was a sportsman. My mother encouraged sports and encouraged us to play. And so we lived a different life to the normal Indian student. Right. But I understand where they were coming from. Their only way of success was by excelling in studies and getting ahead. And so, yeah, we've been through difficult times, very difficult times, and there's no such thing as an easy ride.
You mentioned your mom. Somebody told me 4 boys and your dad, and your mom was the rock that held you all together.
Well, there were 3 boys, my sister, and my mother took in her younger brother who's less than a year older than my brother Prakash. So it was 4 boys. And my mother is not just a rock, she was a cane that held us together.
You've created platforms like the Inspiring Change Foundation to uplift others. What do you hope your ultimate legacy will be, especially for the next generation of leaders?
So I need to give credit to 2 people who have accidentally or otherwise inspired me in some way. The one is Soli Captain, whom you might know, Captain of Industry and Captain by name. He once saw an interview I did with the BBC during some cricket tournament for the World Cup 2007. And he phoned me and he actually told me, and he's very good that way, he takes calls directly and he'll speak to you. And he said, Ramesh, you have a gift where you can connect with people and you need to use that gift. The other person who actually motivated me to start the Inspiring Change Foundation is Krishanta Jayasinghe, founder of Sarva Integrated. CJ told me the same thing, also because CJ knows me from the church realm, he knows me from the corporate world, and he has seen me speak and some of my views on these things. And he said, Ramesh, you need to mentor others. You need to transfer these thoughts to others. So what are these thoughts? It's, as the name says, inspiring change. And I try to inspire people to rethink what success means. Because success in itself, my scriptures say, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet you lose his soul? And yet people sell their souls to make profit. That should never be the case. People get into all sorts of difficulty, both financial, sometimes mental. Why? Because they're pursuing success as the world defines it. And I think we need to relook at it. And so that's the sort of conversations I have about pursuing excellence, about leadership, about investing. Many people are not well off, not because they don't earn money. It's because they spend too much and they're not managing their funds properly. And these are areas where I'm targeting an age group of 18 to 28 sort of thing, people who are still at the beginning of their lives, sharing with them even about marriage and kids and how to handle kids and how not to put pressure on kids. Because I go back to this stand-up comic who once said, in my house I'm the younger son, there's an older son, and next door there's the comparison. And sometimes children are subject to that constant comparison and made to feel that they fall short, and therefore they don't blossom. And that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to achieve through this. That I will change mindsets, at least to the audience I get. I will inspire them to take risks. Perhaps I've done sessions on entrepreneurship, make them think outside of getting a regular 9-to-5 job, but making a change in the world around them, using the gifts that they might have. Unique gifts. Now you have a unique gift, Imran, with events. And I've been to your events for the last 25 years, you've been doing events. What you bring to the table with an event, someone else does not bring. And it's not a Me Too product. And you are gifted with that. And that's what I want other people to see, that they may have a gift which the next man does not have. And they might just be wasting that gift.
Thank you very much for that. But I think it's also passion driven. You can't think about money. You need to have the passion for it. You need to feel it when you do it. Is there a popular leadership mantra or saying that you disagree with, and why?
I don't know about sayings that I disagree with. There are several sayings that I agree with. I have several ones of my own as well. The first is don't do anything someone else can do. Because there's stuff that only Imran can do. And therefore, don't waste your time doing what anyone else could be doing, just delegate it. And that I learned from Ronald Reagan himself. He didn't teach me personally. It was an interview I read where, in response to a question of how he manages the world's largest economy, it's simple. And I learned this at 14. He said, surround yourself with good people, delegate, and don't interfere. That's all. Three-point plan. People surround themselves with good people, don't delegate. If they do delegate, they constantly look over their shoulder and keep interfering. And that's the only reason not to succeed. And that is something I've held very close to my heart. People say I don't get involved I don't micromanage. But it's really that not that I don't want to micromanage, it's that I delegate and I empower people to micromanage.
And they do the rest of the work while you can concentrate on other things.
Absolutely.
That's a very good policy.
I'm sorry I didn't answer your question, but there are leadership mantras thrown around, and if I had to knock one on the head, it'll probably be that leaders are born. Yes, people are born with greater characteristics towards leadership, but there are also things, as I said, that can be caught, not taught. You can't go and read a book on leadership and become a leader. No. You need to watch, you need to learn, you need to sometimes copy. Don't reinvent the wheel. There are leaders who contributed to my life and my journey a great deal.
Looking back, was there a failure or misstep that became a defining learning moment in your career?
Several, because you can't be a risk taker and not have failure. You have to be able to take that failure, you have to be able to own that failure. And there have been decisions, some big decisions, where the timing was not right, or the enthusiasm was not fulfilled after the transaction, because we've done mergers and acquisitions over the last 30 years. It's like my game. And we've done several. And the high profile ones we know done well, but there are also some which haven't done well. And there have been investments we made, expansions we made without thinking through strategy too well, without thinking exactly where it fits. I learned something a little late from the late Dr. Nihal Jinasena, who was on our board. He said, if a check is what you're bringing to a transaction, don't bring it. What are you bringing other than the money? What is the skill that you're bringing, or what are you going to bring that's going to upscale that business? If you're not bringing something like that, don't bring the check. And now I look at every business opportunity, I look at it as, okay, other than the check, what are we going to add value? What are we going to bring to the table? And that has been a great learning for me. And that was previously a great failing, because sometimes your sentiment and enthusiasm and that not wanting to miss the bus. I've come to the realization, you miss a bus today, there's another bus always coming along.
True. And when you take a misstep or a failure, it's actually a learning process.
Absolutely.
You know what to do next. So
it's an expensive one.
It's an expensive one, true.
The wise man learns from his mistakes. The intelligent man learns from the mistakes of others. I would have liked to have done that. And the fool doesn't learn. I hope they're not fools.
I know that time is catching up on you, so I'll pose the last one for you. And this one is, when people talk about leaving a legacy, they think of buildings or businesses. But what's a legacy that can't be seen, but you hope to leave behind?
When you said time is catching up, I thought you meant my age.
No.
That is catching up as well, and I'm trying to be more purposeful in what I do. Imran, it's the important aspect of life, because people ask me, how can you be in the corporate world and how can you be a clergyman? And I think you can't separate the two. And I think that's the case even if in your case. You 24 hours a day, you're the same person. You can't say, oh no, this is Imran who's working, Imran at home is different. And I think that is the authentic self. And I like to think that I bring to the table my authentic self. I'm transparent, I communicate with my subordinates, I own my failures. And my own story, as I said, 20 years I was nowhere near spiritual matters. I was far from it, as far away as possible. And like the proverbial prodigal son, I came back to the things of God, and that transformed me in many ways. And so, therefore, what is the legacy? The legacy would be not to make successful businessmen, but to make good human beings. This legacy would be to get people to focus on caring for their fellow human beings and acknowledging that all of us are humans on the same journey. The legacy would be certainly if I can get people closer to God, and that's what I do as a passion. And I go through a lot of physical hardship and tiredness doing that, because that is something that drives me even better. Because sometimes we're too focused on the temporal things, whether it's the
True
latest
enough.
iPhone or the iPad, or whether it's the clothes we wear. And I go back to what I quoted earlier: what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? So
It's,
if I can help people find their soul,
it's the materialistic side that seems to predominate,
it does.
and that's the
In
problem.
this world today, it's become all about that, and it's all about grab what you can, get ahead. Doesn't matter whom you stamp on, and that is wrong.
And they forget that.
There is enough in this world of abundance. There is enough for everyone.
Yep. Ramesh, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time. It's been an enlightening experience, and I've learned a lot sitting through it. Thank you. Thank you once again. And thanks for watching. If you've got any cues for any cue, send them our way. Until next time, stay focused, stay passionate, stay unequaled, and we will see you on the next episode.